Hey you guys, welcome back to Southern Latitudes. I'm Robin and I have a, I guess you could call it a series now this week, but I asked you guys in the community page of YouTube what were some things that maybe you wanted to see I haven't addressed, or go back and address, maybe clarify, just any kind of questions, because I know you don't want to just watch me weeding in the garden, and I feel kind of bad about, just time-lapsing a weeding job. So you guys came through. Several of you have now commented. Wanda was yesterday. She asked about the chickens, so I put out a chicken video. And today, so there's a bunch of them actually, but today I'm only going to address Lori at the Wildings Landing. She asked me what are the things that I don't grow and why. And now Lori's been with me since, like, she's probably subscriber number 20. We kind of met each other while we were promoting our YouTube channels together, and the Wildings Landing is more like living off grid, and they bought acreage in South Florida. And yeah, they've over the years that I've known her, probably what, 2019 or something, Lori, yeah, they've gone from just land that flooded into a very workable farm and water catchment and gardens and permaculture. And so I'm just giving her a little shout out there. And she's got well, maybe she has meat chickens, but she definitely has bunnies. I don't know. I think they're meat bunnies, but they could just be income also. But anyhow, so let's get to her questions, which were, what are the things that you're growing? And probably the list isn't very long. Well, by the time I grabbed out years and years worth of notes, I think I go back to 2012 on these notes, so 11 to 12 years of notes. I found plenty of things that I'm actually not growing anymore. And you guys are so kind. I have the greatest subscribers, because you don't put me down for like, hey, you didn't grow beets. Well, there's a reason for that. Let's just start with number one, beets. So I have actually grown beets in fall of 2019 into 2020. They grew over there next to the pine tree behind me. And it was the first year gardening in that spot after we cleared the lot. And actually they grew fantastic. But I don't really eat beets, but my friend she made a bit of a tomato sauce substitute, because she was having and working through some food allergies, and so beets were a replacement for tomatoes. And I gave her all of my beets, and I was proud. That was the first time I tried beets. The secret to it was probably A, new soil, but B, forget about them. And they weren't on irrigation or anything. They weren't fertilized. They turned out to be beautiful. I had a whole bunch of them to give to her. But I personally don't like beets that I know of. Maybe I could change my mind. I might try to grow some, maybe next year. Not this year. I think we're getting too warm now, so maybe I'll try to find a beet that would agree to my taste buds. And if not, I'll just give more to her. So that was number one. Garlic. So I have tried garlic 2 different times that I could find in my notes. So the 2 different ones I grew were red taconchilla. That was planted in fall of 2019 and pulled in 2020, and that was in the house garden. I didn't really know what I was doing. They had a little bit too much shade. I think the recommendation came from Rob Greenfield when he was in Orlando. He was on a bunch of Pete Canaris's videos, and I just tried what he was doing, and I did the vernalization where you put them in the fridge for several weeks to 2 months. They just didn't do well. You know, it's my first time, and that it was what it was. So then the next year, I learned more about onions and then also garlic. And now my onions from seed died, so I ended up ordering from Dixondale. But I put all the onions, leeks, and garlic up in North Garden, which was really a fantastic location. Those had, I was using ammonium sulfate on those on a schedule just like the onions, where you get them established and every 3 weeks you fertilize them. And then come the new year, when you cross over into the new year, you don't fertilize anymore. And I don't remember exactly, but I think I pulled them around April. And those, that type was Salmon River Pescadero, Pescadero. I couldn't read the bag that I took a picture of. And they were nice and thick, but they didn't really bulb. And so I think that might have been an error on my part of pulling them too soon. I think if I'd probably left them in the ground another month to 2 months max, I might have got some nice heads on them. But again, that's a learning curve, and they do have to sit in the ground for the better part of a year. So what I ended up doing was just kind of nixing garlic all together, and not using that space for only so much garlic. It was easier for me just to run to the market and pick up like a whole, as many as I wanted, and throw them in the closet where it was dark and cool, and I could just have them whenever I wanted to. It would be nice. I might try that again sometime soon. Maybe this fall we'll try again. But those were the 3 different varieties that I did try garlic with. And if you try garlic and it works for you, I'm so happy. Please tell me your secrets, because I obviously am still learning. Okay, we'll try to go a little quicker through the rest. I don't do purple broccoli anymore. I grew fantastic greens that must have been a good 3 feet high. I could not get them to even put on a head, much less a purple head. I don't know what, maybe we're not cold enough here, coastal. I think I've seen people that are inland a little bit, you know, like maybe my latitude, but inland, and they get just slightly colder in Orlando and west all the way to Tampa. But you know, maybe you just need that cold, and I don't have it here on the coast. Carrots, so Pusa Aceta and Amarillo carrots, I love them. I had a beautiful showcase picture. I mean, I grew them, picked them all. They were beautiful. The Pusa Aceta do stain your hands. I didn't love that. Didn't love the stain in the kitchen. Jack was a big proponent for why I don't grow them again. He did not like the different colors. He just likes the traditional orange carrot. And since he wasn't eating them, I just kind of stopped growing them. I will say the Pusa Aceta is usually first up. It's fast to mature, and it does put on flowers, bolts, if you will. And the bees love it. So if you just want it for even a pollinator aspect, go for Pusa Aceta carrots. Chamomile. So I've tried chamomile a couple different times, especially in 2018 and 2019. And I can get them to barely flower, but by then we're turned on heat and they don't like that. I have not tried overwintering them, and that might be the secret to getting more. Again, I just have not found it worth my time. I don't even drink enough chamomile tea to make it worth the effort. Let's go back to carrots for a second. So I loved Hercules carrots. You'll see it on a lot of my older videos, and the sun's trying to come out. And I did love them. And then this year I tried a carrot called Narvik, and it's a little bit more of a longer taper versus the Châtenay, and I actually love it more. So I may have been quoted saying I'll always keep Hercules, in my garden, but I think that's not going to be true going forward. I think after the 2023 to 24 garden season, I'll probably always keep something more like a Narvik. I just like the shape better. The flavor's great on both, so it's not about that. Oh, and also let's go back. This is not in any order. It was just kind of as I went through my books. So Italian broccoli. It grows well, tastes just as good. It puts out the smaller shoots versus the head and then the small shoots. And to me, I thought if I'm just going for small shoots, I might as well go for the head and the small shoots. So for the most part, I just grow American broccoli. I really like the Godzilla, but I have grown Bellstar and probably other types too. Those are the two main ones recently. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, if you want it, go for it. I'm not the be-all, end-all for sure. Radishes. Okay, so I've tried radishes a few times. One year I didn't get any bulbs out of the little round globe ones. We're just not cold enough. And then, so I've kind of been turning towards French breakfast radishes, and that's good. Last year I did the icicles, which were like a long white daikon type, and I tried something called sparkles. I've done Easter egg. Trying to think what else in French breakfast, but anyhow, they're okay, but I just can't get the pretty globes really, unless I'm just really starting it like in October and November and getting them before, you know, it's hard because you're short days, and we just don't have that much cold weather over here in 9B, almost really 10A here on in Brevard County. Jack loves the radishes, so I grow them mostly for him. I'll eat the French breakfast, but yeah, I'm just kind of like, I don't know, take it or leave it. I like the tops actually better than the radish themselves. Cantaloupe. Okay, so that's been a long learning curve. I've tried cantaloupe multiple times, even as short as like 2 years ago. I tried it over here. I always get the greens going. For some reason, don't get the tops, the fruit. And so I have found, now I've had better luck with something called like a Crenshaw or Lily Crenshaw. They're a little bit better adapted for heat. I've also found the Armenian cucumber, which is a big long white cucumber that goes up a trellis. I did that in the food forest, and those are a little like a mixture of a melon and a cucumber flavor. Those are very good. Those did grow well. But the traditional cantaloupe and watermelon for that matter, I'm not too good at, but I'm trying the sugar baby watermelons again. I have gotten like 1 or 2 watermelons, but last year I did it way too late. I started in April and it was just a weedy mess over there. But a couple years before I did it in North Garden, and I did get some actual watermelons. Okay, what else? Let's talk okra. Okay, so I have settled on Clemson spineless. I did that in the beginning. Then I experimented with burgundy, which is fine, and jambalaya, which is shorter, but I found it was so spiky, and I found it more fibrous. And maybe it was just the year we were having, maybe too much drought and less water, something like that. But I just ended up returning to Clemson spineless last year. Was that over here? And no, I don't know where I put it. I forgot. Anyhow, yeah, I think it was over in Salsa Garden. I do rotate that, and really enjoy the Clemson spineless. Okay, so let's talk climbing beans. So I didn't write down what years, but I have all sorts of years: 2013, 2013, 2015. I did all the Kentucky Wonder and the Blue Lake in the climbing. I've had it over here behind the bay window, and I've had it up in the food forest. and both are great. I just kind of like that flat Italian bean that I've been growing every year. It's just called a green bush bean. I like it. Once it's mature and then done, and we're good. Mostly if I want to can green beans, I just sneak off and buy them at the farmer's market and then can a case. They're easy. I have no other excuse other than maybe laziness or space. Occasionally I'm limited on space. Okay, let's talk collards next. So I have tried Tiger collards, Top Bunch 2.0, and the Georgia collards, or Georgia Southern collards. Is it just Georgia collards? I've tried them, oh my goodness, I've tried them in North Garden, Salsa Garden, and House Garden, all in different years, and my favorite are the Georgia collards. And I don't really know, Tiger was a favorite for a while, and then perhaps the Top Bunch 2.0 just was in too much shade when I put it in South Garden here, and maybe just to mature as well. I felt it was a little bit bitter comparatively, but I tell you what, I just love that Georgia collard. Just preference of flavor, taste, I guess. All of them grew pretty good, other than definitely put them in shade. Don't put them in, definitely put them in sun, not in shade. Okay, let's talk cabbage. I love all the green cabbages, like the Green Acre, the Brunswick, the Stonehead, makes a little smaller head. Something is going on. I think Buddy's digging or something. I like the Red Acre. Oh, I think that's my package. Okay, we just have a few more to get through. Sorry, I did have to go get that. That was a very expensive airplane part sitting on the front porch. And while I was in there, I grabbed my hat so my eyes wouldn't be squinting. Okay, so I gave up on San Marzano tomatoes. And I don't know, I can grow a great green one, but for some reason, by the time we get to red, I don't know if they have a delicious scent or something, but the squirrels always like them. One time I had this beautiful row in House Garden. I had this gorgeous row. Every plant, I probably had about 8 plants, and they were loaded with green San Marzanos, and all of them eaten down before I could get to them. I've tried them again in House Garden one year, and I get 2, 3. So I did a taste test last fall with my friend Marilee, and we settled on, I'm sure I'm gonna kill this name, Federal or Federally, I don't know, I'll put it down below, and San Salvador. Anyhow, I should have put that in my notes, but so I saved those seeds from one of hers, and I'm testing out paste tomatoes again, because quite honestly, the last 2 to 3 years, I've just been relying on big tomatoes to be my sauce tomatoes. As far as like black crim, that Tiger or something, Green Tiger, green vernissage, black vernissage, there was a bunch of brown vernissage. My French is terrible. And some of those really big heirloom types, I have decided not to do them, and different reasons for all of them. So some of those beautiful little, the heirlooms, but they're small, their skin is very thin, and so they tend to, when we get our floods of rain in Florida, they tend to split. So I don't grow as many of those. I did Brad's Atomic Grapes, which I got, man, they were like egg size. Gorgeous. I photographed the snot out of them. But they were really bad for red spider mites, and which got all sorts of webbing and growth and disease. And I found the flavor was just so-so. I'm just being honest, my opinion only. If you love them, grow them. But I just thought it was so-so. And it wasn't worth bringing the bugs in. So I quit growing the black crim. Oh, I'm sorry, the Brad's Atomic Grapes. Now I have other uh, wild boar farm tomatoes that I did like, so I'm not like swearing off the whole group. But I just noticed that some of those, the thin skin wasn't worth it, and there's small salad types, and there's other things I grow out here that are just as good. I love that Moby cherry. We're trying the Sweet 100s this year from the grocery store. I love the Campari tomato. A lot better skin, grows way better through our overwintering cold weather, and just a better tomato, disease, less disease and everything, just better suited for Florida. Okay, it's breeding season here. Waltham butternut squash. I don't like that, but the best thing to substitute it with is a cross of a Waltham with a Seminole pumpkin, and they call it a South Anna butternut squash, and that grows like gangbusters down here in our heat and humidity and really fights off the bug pressure pretty well. I saw a question today on Facebook. Somebody was asking about vine borers and everything, and I thought, you know what, I don't think I've ever treated anything that was Seminole pumpkin or Seminole pumpkin cross for vine borers. Now these Waltham, I got a couple, but they were small, and anyhow, just not, those are suited better for like around the top of the state line of Florida and north. Amaranth. So amaranth was great. I've grown Love Lies Bleeding and Coral Fountain. Gorgeous looking. I like them better for like a pollinator status. You know, I'm not growing them to eat grain, in other words, and there's too many ants and little things that get in there, and I just don't feel like it's a good to eat. But it's great. You can pretty much do it year round here, but it's mostly novelty. It's beauty. Unless you can eat the leaves and stuff, but I think there's better varieties than what I had for eating in salads. Oh, let's talk celery. I saw something this morning that just put me over the edge. This lady whacked she was a zone 9 vegetable gardener, and she whacked all her celery out. I think she actually pulled them out. She didn't cut and leave the bases in the ground. She pulled the roots and everything in the picture. And they were gorgeous, you know, from here to here, over 2 feet long. Super. But why? Why would you do that? When you just pick, however, you need 2 stalks for a recipe, 3 stalks, you're gonna do whatever. Why take the whole plant? You can just kind of like lettuce. You can take leaf by leaf or collard by collard. You know, you can do that with celery too, and you can have it for half a year or more. You know, we've been eating easily 2 months, all of my celery. Now, what I won't ever grow again is pink celery. I think I got a free packet with a bunch of seeds from what company, and they're cute, they're beautiful, they're they're showy, but I found them to be very woody, and it's not what I want to cook with. You want to grow it, you grow it. It's pretty. Winged Japanese bean. Now I've grown them, and I've had some volunteer. They don't like, I put them in fall thinking I was going to grow them over winter. No, they waited until like the heat turned on in March, April. I think it was like April, and then they grew all summer long. And I do like to dry fry them with just like some butter, like a saute and seasoning, but they got to be smaller. They do get tough. They're a bit of a novelty. So I probably will not invest the time this year with a winged Japanese bean. Loofah. So I do love loofah, but you don't see it in my garden every year. I grow it about every 3rd year, which I think I'm due this year or maybe next year. I really don't need to grow it because I still have an entire case of loofah in my garage. I do use loofah like crazy in the house between dishes and showering. So last but not least, let's talk about different squash. I apologize. I can't control nature. I only do, well, that's not true. I can't say only. I do try squash sometimes in the fall, but it's usually unsuccessful because A, we still have the heat and humidity in July, August, September. If you're in North Florida, I think you can get away with that and above that. But here where I'm at, it's just way too hot. We have a lot of hurricane risk still at that time. By the time you get them in October, you might be able to get a couple squash out. I'm talking like yellow squash, zucchini, patty pans. But the bug pressure is still there. So if I'm gonna do them, I'm doing them now. I'm starting my seeds in February, get them in the ground before March, which I didn't this year because I had, you know, that this seeding issue, and I lost like trays worth of seeds. And my soil wasn't, if you're new, my soil didn't work out to be the best to put seeds in, and my seeds rotted. So I have seedlings about ready to go in the ground, and we are, I think this is March 7th, 6th or 7th. So they're going in soon. I do have some yellow straight neck or crooked neck. No, I'm sorry, that's zucchini in salsa. And then I have the patty pans gonna be up front here. But those are already in the ground and they're already about dinner plate size. So this is the best time because the bugs really haven't come out in full force. Some have, but not enough to do anything, you know, vine borer or BT treatment, you know, something like that. Don't use diatomaceous earth if you start seeing blooms, because once you do that, you run the risk of killing your bees. But this is the best time because we're still in our dry season, and as soon as those rains come, you can expect powdery mildew and whatever. It's just, our season is just almost like at that point of like 30 days. So I have to have everything ready and then have the 30 days of March, maybe a little into April before they die. So you don't ever see me grow a lot of that, although we do crave it and want to eat it, but that's just the nature of where we live. Some things are just harder to grow than others. Artichokes were also kind of hard for me, but I think I've evolved into a better gardener. And so we've got artichokes growing way faster, way better than we ever have before. Just like I said, we're trying new paste tomatoes. We're trying Brussels again. I swore off Brussels. Okay, I've done the Dagon, I've done the Jade Cross, I've done some Groninger Brussels. I've tried all sorts of Brussels, and I said, no, no more. I'll just buy them at the market. And then this year I bought little starts, so I didn't have to waste, you know, a month, 6 weeks worth of trying to get them up. So I bought starts already ready to go, put them in the ground. We happen to have, just, you know, blessing of God, a wet winter, and I have Brussels good this year. It looks like I know what I'm doing. Although it's temperamental, it'll be hit and miss on Brussels some years, you know. I've come to accept that. So but I'm pretty pleased with this year. And, you know, of course, if I ran my water more, probably everything would be better. But there's a lot of times I'm trying to be cheap, and so things don't get watered, and they could grow faster, but they don't. And I'm not a huge proponent of tons of fertilizer. We're going to talk about fertilizer in one of the next videos too. That was a question by who asked me that? Stephanie, and no, I didn't write down the other person. Plumeria Cottage. You both asked me about fertilizer, so we'll go through that in the next video. I think, unless we do a garden tour, interrupt these questions. But anyhow, thank you, Lori, for asking such a good question. I bet you were not expecting this long of a video. There's a lot of things that I have grown here in this yard the past 15, 16 years, and especially since we opened up this side 5 years ago, that I have learned are not really worth my time, or, you know, I just wasn't good at it in the beginning, or the space. Oh my goodness, like watermelons, you know, take a lot of space, just like the pumpkins and all that. but then sometimes I just miss it and want to go back. So if there's any vegetables that I didn't cover that you're still wondering about, I'm happy to go over that with you. I think for now though, I'll just leave it there, and let me know if there's something that you just won't grow or that you've been afraid to grow. You know, I'm eating a whole lot more things than I used to because now I grow them and I feel obligated. And now I'm very glad that I do eat, like Swiss chard. Never grew it before. Turnips, never ate them before I grew them. And boy, I love them. Well, you gotta find the right turnip for me. But yeah, I mean, there's so much more we can be eating and growing. And I've stepped out of my comfort zone. So there is a lot less that I grow, but there's also things that I've exchanged and found grow better in our climate, and I wanted to include that in the list for you guys so you don't waste your time with like a Waltham and, you know, or whatever. I don't want to single out because those are really good, tried and true varieties, but not so much for subtropical, you know. So, okay, you guys, thanks for watching. Take care, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.